Welcome to The Favorites, the podcast presented by Bet365. We are part of the Volume Podcast Network. I am Chad Millman of the Action Network. I am live from my Tommy John home studio, joined as always by my co-host, my companion, my compadre, my BFF, professional bettor, Simon Hunter. Hello, Simon.
Hello, Chad. How we doing, brother?
I'm ready. I'm ready. I think there are some really ugly, ugly games. I don't know about you. You said on Tuesday you were feeling good about this week. It took me until about 2 p.m. yesterday to find real clarity and start to get comfortable with some of these games because they are so ugly. We had a long chat about the Chiefs as big favorites over the Panthers this week, and I just wanted to put some stuff in context. We're going to talk more about that game. You mentioned that double-digit faves are 5-0 this season against the spread. Evan confirmed that in his excellent, excellent trends piece this week. Double-digit faves, 5-0 this year. The first time they had been undefeated, not just against the spread, undefeated as winners this late in the year in 20 seasons, and only the second time in the past 40 seasons. But if you want to know how extraordinary it is that the double-digit favorites are undefeated against the spread, you have to go back to 1950. That is the last time double-digit favorites were undefeated against the spread through week 11. If you need some context for this, I thought you'd appreciate this as a
Yeah.
professional bettor and a connoisseur of history, all things betting. In 1950, Simon, the point spread was less than a decade old. It was invented in the early 1940s by a math genius and trader in Chicago named Charles McNeil, because all the stuff that makes people happiest comes from Chicago. Deep dish pizza, Chicago-style hot dogs, and the point spread. That's the list.
I thought you were gonna do the Dan Revell and be like the number one movie and the number one song played when this happened.
How do you like that history lesson?
That's pretty incredible. I mean, it's more shocking that he wouldn't work for the mob. So I'm honestly just totally shocked right
Well,
now.
here's the thing. And not that we have to get deeper into Chicago history as we did with why it's called the Windy City. Eventually, he was run out of business and run out of town by the mob.
Yeah. Okay.
Today
Now it
is
makes
our
sense.
NFL. What's that?
I said that makes sense.
Yeah. Today is our NFL Week 12 Best Bets episode. Simon and I are going to narrow down our 5 picks in the favorites $100,000 Pro Football Pick'em contest presented by Bet365. Go ahead, sign up now. You can still win the weekly prize as favorites.actionnetwork.com. We're going to get to the foxhole. We're going to give out our Tommy John Big Balls Bet of the Week, which won last week, by the way. We're going to discuss Simon's biggest bets, our boosted money line underdog parlay, the underdog round robin, and so much more. Bets are rolling in, lines are moving, decisions need to be made. As our volume podcast boss, Colin Cowherd, likes to say, there's a sea of money out there. As a reminder, the Favorites podcast is presented by Bet365, and now new Bet365 customers get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Sign up using promo code FAVORITES, deposit $10, place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets. Those bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and present in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, or 18 and older in Kentucky. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. Terms, conditions, restrictions apply. As always, Thursdays during the season, we're going to hear how the wise guys are responding to our Tuesday conversations. We are moving lines, my good friend Simon Hunter. That's why they feel compelled to weigh in on our decisions. So, Simon, let's get to it. Sharp calls.
Yeah, let's start with the Thursday night. As fans of this show know, we felt like we had to take the Browns, and we kind of felt like we were following the professionals here. Nothing's changed, right? It's been really professional heavy. It's pros versus Joes. It's really heavy for the public on the Pittsburgh side. Professionals have come in. Even when this number's ticked up to +4. You've seen it come crashing right back down at +3.5. So the books, the professionals, they've kind of draw a line in the sand here, and they do think this is an upset. And then Evan's article came out, and you saw what I saw, Chad. All that info about Tomlin on these Thursday night games against divisional opponents. So I didn't really understand where they're coming from. Now it starts to make sense. Then you add in that we have some bad weather coming in. So yeah, this went from being everyone thinking this is going to be a boring Pittsburgh blowing this team out kind of game to does Cleveland have actually a shot to win this game outright? So that's a really fun game. Let's get into the big dogs. The professionals, they love the Colts this week. They love the Panthers. And a couple guys shockingly like the Titans now. The Titans is the smallest one. I would say the other ones, guys are betting more confident. Guys are kind of playing this Titans spot because of the number and the fact that this team is 1-9 against the spread, right? Like eventually the book is going to catch up to it, give you extra points. Same goes for that Houston team, right? I think that's the view of it. CJ's a different guy as a big favorite. We've seen him be, so much better and consistent as an underdog. So those are a couple of interesting games that we're going to dive into. For games we love, the pros love with us. Rams, that's one we'll spend a bunch of time on. Chargers, not that shocking. They love your Arizona Cardinals pick. We've seen that number flip-flopping, right? We've seen that get up. They've got up to -1.5 at a couple of books, Arizona. Yeah. So that line's been moving like crazy. Now, this is a game me and you really haven't touched on. Denver. Like, I've talked to a lot of really sharp groups that love this Denver number. And they've taken this number from opening of 3 all the way up to 6 now, Chad. So that's a game that, like, if we're going to force in a favorite, maybe I could convince you on that Denver team because it's a good matchup for them. Defensively, offensively, I get where they're coming from. And I agree that at 5.5, if you can still get it in contest or in your pick pool, I'd take that value. That's a really good number on that Denver team. And then a game that you spent a little time on, not much though, was the 49ers Green Bay. Our whole issue was, okay, Brock Purdy's missing practices. This is a big deal. That to me would make me want to take Green Bay if they're obviously going to play it back up. Purdy practice, no problem yesterday, apparently. Same goes with Kittle, who we talked about how important he is to that offense. So we've seen the money come in now on that 49ers team. Now it's down to 1.5. So, a couple guys I talked to that are pretty smart. They're ahead of it. They got the 2.5. I was going to be on the other side, but Chad knows on Sunday night I wanted to be on the 49ers. So I'm happy to come back on this 49ers team. That's the position I wanted to be on. It was all about if Purdy was going to play. He seems like he's good to go. This seems like a really nice spot to back this 49ers team. So, the professionals, Chad, they're betting big on the dogs this week. And I think this is kind of the spot. Either the public's going to have a ton of money in their pocket heading into Thanksgiving, or they're going to be chasing pretty hard come that Thanksgiving 3-day game slate.
Look, I'm glad to hear all this because obviously I'm having different conversations than you, and a lot of my work between Tuesday and Thursday is hunkering down, researching, looking at advanced analytics, seeing if I can find an edge across any of the things that we look at, from success rate to, EPA, etc. And I was starting to feel so much better about some of these teams. The Niners are an interesting one, and I think that's sort of a tipping point game for us. I'm excited to get to that. We're going to dig into all of it. Before we do, reminder, our latest free favorites podcast watch party is happening in a few weeks, December 12th. That is a Thursday, December 12th, in Simon Hunter's hometown of Philadelphia, right there in Center City, folks. We're going to the Wicked Wolf. I heard it's a banging spot. A lot of people have said to me, oh, I love that place. We're going to have free drinks. It's going to be a live Q&A with me and Simon. Matt Mitchell is going to be there too. We're all going to hang out. We're going to sweat and bet and enjoy the Thursday night football game between the Rams and the Niners, two teams we have loved betting this year. You must RSVP. Space will be limited to RSVP. Check out the link in the podcast description page or the YouTube episode description. Simon and I will tweet it out as well. RSVPs are coming in. Do not delay. I'll also say, I'm not making a political statement here. I've gotten a lot of requests from people to start putting more stuff on Threads. I joined Threads last night. Millman C. Go ahead and follow me. I posted a link to the RSVP in my threads feed. I'll do the episode. I'll do the RSVP there as well. I'm not abandoning X. I'm just saying I'm adding threads, getting a lot of requests for threads content. So we're going to put it all in there. Again, RSVP December 12th. Wicked Wolf in Center City. Join me, Simon, Matt Mitchell. All right, let's get rolling. Simon, right now we're starting with Kansas City at Carolina. We have assiduously, that's right, I said it, assiduously, big word, avoided the Carolina Panthers since they basically turned our podcast audience against us after about 3 weeks. We have avoided them all season long. They are 11-point underdogs. I think it's going to go higher. I wanted to put this on the list just so we could officially dismiss it. And so I could refer to Evan's double-digit stats off the top. I think it's time to fade those stats, and I'm not afraid of the Panthers here.
It's fair, and I don't want to move on too quick. Did you say banging? Is that in your vocabulary? You said that they had banging food at the bar we're going to.
I
Is
said
that?
it's a banging spot.
I don't even know what just happened. I can't believe that's part of your '90s lingo. I love it, Chad.
Dude, do you know how I am so hip? I
Yeah,
am
that's
so
banging.
cool. I'm banging. I'm a banging dude.
Just you just said it. It just kept moving. I was like, oh my god, I can't let this keep going. Yeah, Panthers are banging this week. How do we avoid
Simon,
the
I don't know
Panthers?
how you see me, but the way I see myself, very hip to the trends.
I don't know about that.
I only had to look up pink tote lid moment once today.
Yeah, this Panthers team, it's what you're just talking about. We're just playing the number, right? Try not to overthink it. I talked about I have this at 8.5. We're getting a ton of value here. It doesn't feel good, Chad. I think you're in the same boat as me, where it's
Nope.
like it's. I think we have PTSD from betting this Carolina team, but it's really all about playing this number. We've seen it before with Mahomes. The public drives these numbers up, and that's why he is 0-3-1 as a 10-point favorite or more. And it's because the public drives the number up. The books have no issue pushing it to its limit because they know that this is going to be the number one tease game, the number one money line parlay game, all of that. So you're right. I'm trying to overthink it. We'll take the value. At 10.5, I was already committed. Now it's up to 11 again, 11.5. How do we not take that, Chad? So to
Yeah.
me, it's really about the number, the matchup to this Panthers team. You know, as bad as they've been, we've seen these last couple of weeks that Bryce Young's found a little bit of confidence, and he is pushing the ball downfield. And that, as great as this Kansas City team is against the run, we know that the Panthers, they'll find a way to run the ball. That's just what they've done all season. So, yeah, I'm with you, Chad. I was hoping we would avoid this one, but now that we sit here on Thursday, it feels like this is going to be one of our five. It's just too good of a number, too good of a spot to pass on this Panthers team.
Well, here's our challenge. And by the way, we're in the foxhole. And we're not in the foxhole against the professional bettors here. We're in the foxhole against our listeners. I hate to say it, but we are because I can feel the revolt. I can feel
Yeah.
my threads feed just blowing up with feedback about the Panthers. But yeah, this is just how we play the game. And look, there's 3 fewer games this week, right? So there's not as many options. And all of these games, like there are a lot of ugly dogs and there aren't the obvious favorite spots like we've had in the past. Um, the numbers say you got to take the Panthers here. So if we're going to play, let's play like we're supposed to. We're taking the Panthers. I think it's going to be in the contest. I hate doing it to people, but if you want to be with us, if you want to jump in the foxhole with me and Simon, look, we're going to buy you free drinks in Philly. So if it doesn't work out, at least you're getting that from us. Minnesota at Chicago. Bears are 3.5-point underdogs. This has been a weird game. Like it says play the home dog with a defense whose strengths match up to the fading QB's weaknesses. The trends say fade the road favorite with a win percentage of 75% or more. It's 43% the past decade. I just can't get there. Like I think Caleb Williams going against Brian Flores for the first time is a real X factor here that is not being considered in all sort of bet the number blind metrics that we see. And I know Sam Darnold is fading. Like, I'm not a fan of Sam Darnold. We've been looking for ways to fade him the past few weeks, but I got huge, huge concerns and numbers to back it up with Brian Flores against Caleb Williams.
Yeah, and I'll take the coward route. I'm still taking the plus 3.5, but I definitely feel more confident taking the under in this game. Like, I'd rather take that than
Okay,
have
good.
to take this number, especially because we talked about it. This number's moved a ton. At 4.5, I honestly would feel pretty good taking this number just because I do think it's gonna be a low scoring, really close game. And as much you want to knock this Bears team with Caleb Williams, all of his games for the most part he plays pretty close. Like, it feels like they're always in these games and they're in these tight games. And you know, as much you want to bash this Bears team, it's the defense that's kept them in a lot of these games as well. Like, they've kept them in a really close matchup. So I like both defenses in this game. Like, both them match up well for the offense on the other side. Your hesitation is warranted. Like, we know the deal. You guys can't block anyone on the Bears, and now you have a team that can just throw a ton of different looks and blitz packages. It's not ideal for Caleb Williams. So I'm with you. I coming into this week, I really was loving this spot. Now as the week going along, it's like I still like it. I just prefer the under more. So I'm happy to pass on this one. I'm making one of our 5.
You know, what's interesting, and I'm glad to hear you sort of found a different perspective. I was afraid you were going to try to bully me into taking the Bears, and I just didn't get the love. I got the love for the Bears at 5 and 4.5, but still hearing about it at 3.5 is confusing to me. We got a 1-game sample size of the Bears, with a new offensive coordinator and trying to be a little more vertical. And most importantly, Caleb getting rid of the ball in 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds instead of holding onto it forever. The Packers are just not the same defense as the Vikings. And here's a stat I stole from Evan in his excellent piece about the trends in betting this week. When Caleb Williams faces a defense with a sack percentage of 2% or higher, and that's basically when the opponent's percentage of plays that end as a sack while on defense, that's how you calculate sack percentage. He's 1-6 straight up, scoring less than 20 points in 6 of the 7 games. The Viking sack percentage, 5.5%. Like, I just feel like they're going to do so many things that confuse him, befuddle him, make him hold the ball. They'll drop back into coverage and still get pressure. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. I want you to talk me off a game. New England at Miami. Sharp money has moved this from 7.5 to 7. So you've lost the hook. But this feels like a classic eye test versus a numbers game to me. Like, we watch a lot of Patriots games because we're either betting on them or betting against them the past few weeks. And we've watched the past couple of games with Tua and the Dolphins. And when I look at these games with Tua especially, I think the Rams beat themselves against Tua. The Raiders game, this was a 5-point game with 3.5 minutes left. Okay? And the Raiders were a defensive pass interference away from getting the ball back and having a chance to win that game. They get a bad call. The game sort of gets blown open with a couple of freakish plays, but they were 5 points out of that game with 3.5 minutes left. And I think the Pats are gamers. I think Drake May is a gamer. I think their biggest detriment is they have a coach who's just way too conservative and like puts them in bad spots where you don't get the opportunity to cover as much. But I want to bet the Pats.
Yeah, it's another game that we're basically just trusting the number. I haven't put a penny or anything on this money line of this Patriots team. I thought by this point I would, just because he just nailed it. Like, I don't really trust this Miami team. When I really think about it, this Miami team is going to be able to score points in this Patriots defense, especially at home and that kind of spot. That just, we've seen Tua. He's a different player at home, and especially
against bad
Miami
teams.
Yeah, but it's all about the number, brother. If it was 7.5, I'd be more confident putting this in the contest. I looked where he came on; it was 6.5. So it's like exactly. There's no point if you even waste our time because we're not going to take it. So if you want to bet it with us, it's not one of my 5 or 6 bigger bets, but it's really it's really about the number. Like 7.5, Drake May against this Miami team. I feel like me and you have an opportunity for a backdoor. At 6.5, obviously there's no value there. I don't want to force that number in though. So we just talked about an ugly dog. I'd rather have in there Carolina because it's still a better number than this is. So that's what it's going to come down to. Like people are going to be like, why don't you guys end up having this one? It's just a bad number. So I'm with you. I like this number, like the spot. Drake May, we've seen him be a difference maker for that offense, right? I don't know if it was you or someone else talked about it, but like, they have one of the worst pass blocking offenses in all of football, the Patriots. That's been good for Drake, man, because it makes him get outside the pocket. And we've seen him really excel when he either runs the ball or pushes the ball downfield. Like that seems to be what he's so great at, is getting out and making the defense kind of move around unorthodox and throw the ball downfield. So, me and you aren't scared of this Miami defense in any way. We know they have a couple guys who can rush a passer, but overall, they're just not that very good of a defense. So it's 7.5, too many points. I would still take that number if you can find it.
What do you mean you don't know if it was me or somebody else? Who else are you listening to? Why would it not be me?
Because I talk to like hundreds of people every week. I don't know if it was you that said that stat to me or someone else. It all melts together.
Simon, I don't forget anything you say to me. I catalog it. I make a note. I put it in the script. I remember almost every encounter because they're all that special. And I feel like you're discounting what I'm saying in our relationship.
So does that mean you did say it?
It's possible. Listen, I'm so old that you're surprised when I'm using the word banging. How can I remember what I'm saying about Drake May on a Tuesday?
Yeah.
Drake May is banging. Tennessee at Houston. All right. There's a couple games on this board, this and San Francisco, that I feel like are going to sneak their way in or could potentially as like scary bets. Like this line has moved all over since we discussed it. It was at 8, it got to 8.5, then it got down to 8. In some spots now it's down to 7.5. You were adamant the Texans were the side when we discussed it the other day. They are a massive, massive public play. Very chalky. 80% plus of the tickets on the Texans. And I would say in any other year, it's a no-brainer. We're betting the Titans. We're like not even hesitating. We're in, we're excited, we're optimistic. We feel like we got sort of a bead on the right line here. But man, Will Levis, and Evans got some crazy stats. You just mentioned one of them, but give me your take here. What are we thinking?
Yeah, it's fair. Like professionals are betting Tennessee because they're not that bad of a team. Something you talked about every week. It's like they have a pretty good defense. They can run the ball pretty well. It's just they've had Will Levis and Mason Rudolph at the quarterback position this season. There's a reason that's why they're 1-9. So I don't disagree with the people. It's like I want to be on Tennessee. Who doesn't? You're getting a bunch of free points because they're the only people betting them as professional bettors. But I can't get there. I got no faith in this team, especially the Texans. We've seen it. They're what, Evan? 10-1 or 9-1 first half against the spread. Like, yeah, they come out fast, Chad. This Texans team, there's a reason they have 10 covers in the first half. Like they don't mess around. They're just a really well coached team. Not only offensively, we've seen defensively. They have some real gamers. So I know I wanted to be on Tennessee. I want to get there, but I can't do it. Like to me, it's still not enough points. But the professionals betting this makes sense, Chad. Like I'm someone that's been betting Tennessee, I feel like, for the last 2-3 weeks, and it's just never getting there. And even though I'm getting a ton of points, they somehow always figure out a way to shoot themselves on the foot. It's mainly because of the quarterbacks. The turnovers are such killers, especially on their own end of the field. So yeah, I'd rather lose money this week on the Panthers than Tennessee. I tell you that much.
I totally agree with you. I can't decide if with the Panthers, with the Titans, and you make a great point about the Texans in the first half. If this game goes to form and the Texans are great in the first half, the Titans have been awful against the spread in the second half, essentially for the entirety of the Will Levis era, the past 2 calendar years, 7-26-1 against the spread in the second half. This year, 1-9 against the spread overall. The second time that's happened through 11 weeks in 30 years. This is why you want to at least not bet on the Titans, forget about betting the Texans. The one thing I will say about the Titans, and this is reflected in the luck rankings, and we're going to have some luck rankings games in here. This is a big luck rankings under for anyone who's interested. They have been incredibly unlucky. And if you look even at the game last week, right, where the Vikings covered, and we thought that, we were anxious about a cover there. It's one of the reasons we didn't put in the contest. The Titans easily could have covered that game. And I talked about this on Tuesday. I'm sure you remember, Simon, cataloging everything I've ever said. Sam Darnold was kind of terrible in that game. Got most of his yardage from 3 plays. Bad handoff led to a fumble. He fumbled. They recovered. The Vikings recovered. But the Titans had like multiple penalties that called back game-changing plays. Is that luck? Is that bad coaching? Were they bad calls? I just feel like they're incredibly unlucky. Is that enough to want to bet them? Put them in the contest? I don't think so.
No.
But they're barely on the outside looking in. To me. Could be time for that trend to reverse. You know what I'm saying? Simon?
Yes, sir.
Are you ready for our Big Balls Bet of the Week? Presented by Tommy John. If you've got the balls, Tommy John has the support. I know it because I'm wearing my Tommy Johns right now. Great games start with great underwear. Tommy John makes the greatest. Last week, we did something we've never done. We took the Detroit Lions as huge double-digit favorites as our Big Balls Bet of the Week. And it paid off. Paid off better than investing in a pair of Tommy John underwear. This week, we're fading the Detroit Lions as 7.5-point road favorites against the Indianapolis Colts. We talked about it on Tuesday. We got to choose between our babies. That's all this is. We've been betting the Lions. We've been betting the Colts. We're going with the Colts. What's in your mind about this? Because we just talked about it right before we came on, so we didn't get to, dig deep on it. We've heard from sharp calls that they are on the Colts. Have you? Because on Tuesday, I felt like we were still 50-50.
Yeah, this is a classic case of me getting bullied into a pick. I liked it, but it feels like every pro I know is just like, you guys are suckers if you don't take the Colts here. And you liked it. I can tell I kind of liked it. And then I read Evan's article, and it's like, okay, now it's all coming together. When the trend's back up, what the professionals like, and you can see how there is a game script, there is a way for this to be that type of game where we talked about Detroit. The Aiden Hutchinson thing has not really bit them. This is the type of game it does, right? And a game where, they don't have that guy that can contain the outside. They don't have that athletic freak on the outside who's going to be able to match the speed of this Colts offense. Because we've seen Anthony Richardson, sure, you can say it's a small sample, but they talked to him. They said to him, okay, you need to use your body more. We're no longer protecting you. You need to run the ball more. And that's when we're at our best. And, last week in that game, he really did put it all on himself. I mean, that was an incredible drive at the end of the game to lead his team down the field and score that touchdown. And, how do they keep building off of that? We don't know. But at 7.5, I'm willing to pay for that insurance. It feels like we're getting a really good number here against a Detroit team that we joked, I don't know when the peak value is going to be on this Detroit team, but this is getting pretty close to it. Like, we know that they beat up on bad teams. They have done so this year. Me and you both love this Colts team. They're not a bad team, and we've seen them just be different at home. I think I don't know if I'm almost positive they've covered, it feels like, every game at home this season. Like, we've just been betting them at home. And, Anthony Richardson, as much as people have doubted him this year, he's one of the best covering quarterbacks in all of football. Like, he's great to bet on. He finds a way to cover. And, even though me and Chad have been on his side for a lot this season, we feel like we got lucky. I mean, especially that week one, we'll always remember that cover against Houston with a 2.5. He's just been a covering machine. It's kind of just the way the public is doubting him. So the key number here is 7.5. I've seen a couple books already touch 7. Shop around, get that 7.5. I'm starting to really love this matchup, not just because of this offensive line, how they match up with this Detroit team, but not not that we have major questions about this Detroit offense, but it kind of feels like they are due for some regression, right? They can't keep being this high-powered offense every week. There's going to be teams that are going to give them problems, and I don't know if Gus Bradley's the guy defensively that's going to figure out how to shut down Jared Goff totally on this offense. But I think he will know how to ways to keep this close. He's a veteran in DC. He knows how to go against veteran quarterbacks. So, yeah, Chad, I really had a tough time with this one, talking to people, reading Evan's article. It's like, okay, I feel a little bit more confident now putting this one in just because I know the numbers do back up taking the 7.5.
So look, matchup point of view and number wise, this hits our Venn diagram. We've talked about it all year. It's why we've been backing the Colts. We like their ability to run the ball for two reasons. One, it allows them to control the clock, lower the scoring, keep games closer, but also it's a way for them to wear down the opposing defense and enable to work on the play action. And Anthony Richardson, he was really good last week. Like, he completed a high percentage of his passes. He didn't
Yeah.
make the same mistakes. It was impressive. And it's not like the Lions get pressure. So he shouldn't feel like he's going to be forced into making bad decisions as long as he sticks to the game plan that Shane Steichen is putting in front of him. So we like that matchup wise. We also like Jared Goff playing against the zone where his numbers are significantly lower than when he's playing against man when he's nearly perfect. And the Colts play more zone than anybody else. You've referenced Evan's numbers since 2015. Teams after winning by 35 points, 23, 34, and 1 against the spread. When they are favored by more than 4 points, that number goes down 23, 37 against the spread since 2003. Teams who are road favorites after being a double-digit favorite in any location, road or away, road or home, have had struggles against the spread over the past decade, just 43% against the spread the following week, the past decade. Last one from Evan. In November or later, since 2003, there have been 40 games where a team is averaging 33 plus points per game with a 90 plus win percentage. Those teams are 32% against the spread in their next game, including 4, 16, and 1, 25% coming off of a double-digit win. So all of a sudden, we've got matchup and trends that are making us feel a lot better about the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, we have good reason to be scared of this Detroit team, right? So does everyone else that's betting this number, but it's really all about what you just said. Trusting the number, trusting the matchup, then trusting the trends. It's like this is an unusual spot where we kind of need to back it, and I feel bad for your Bears team up next week for that Thanksgiving game because it feels like we're going to have to probably throw this one in the money line round robin. We're hoping for the upset. If they do, man, are they going to take it all out on that Bears team on Thanksgiving?
Listen, I got to drive to Staten Island on Thanksgiving Day to help my mother-in-law pack up a house she's lived in for 56 years
Oh,
because she's
God.
moving. I am looking for that's how much I don't want to watch the Bears Lions game. Is I will spend the majority of that game going through boxes in a garage that have not been touched in 56 years. That's what I'm choosing to do.
Oh, man. What a terrible day.
Simon, the NFL regular season stretch run is here. This year, give a gift that helps your loved ones stretch and run. The gift of Tommy John. Black Friday is next week. We need to start thinking about the people on our holiday gift lists, the men and women we love, those who deserve the perfect gift and the confidence that comes only when you're fully supported, like I am right now. I feel fully supported under two circumstances when I'm with you, Simon, and when I'm wearing my Tommy John underwear. Simon, my brother. Why will you be giving the gift of Tommy John this season.
Pretty simple, Chad. It's a gift that lasts.
You nailed it, brother. This Black Friday sales has begun. So if you're looking to score your gifts early, go to TommyJohn.com/favorites for 30% off right now. Save 30% site-wide for Black Friday at TommyJohn.com/favorites. That's 30% off for a limited time at TommyJohn.com/favorites. Okay. We touched on San Francisco at Green Bay. I'm still seeing twos out there. It has ticked down a bit from 2.5 to 2, and I think they started moving in the Niners direction yesterday after practice. It got down to 1.5 at some of the more public books, but I am seeing twos. I guess on Tuesday we were betwixt and between a little bit. I think we're both feeling a lot better about San Francisco right now.
Yeah, I thought Purdy was really hurt because, like I said, he's just such a tough guy. He never misses practices, and I was like, okay, if he's going to miss a practice, this has to be a really serious shoulder injury. He was back out there yesterday, and he was passing like that. I know it said online, it said it was limited, but the fact that he's throwing and it's that shoulder, that's a big deal. Clearly there might be some discomfort there, but at least he's out there. And then we saw the big news that Kittle guaranteed pretty much that he'll be back for this game. We know how important he is to that offense, not just as a run blocker, but everything else he brings to that team. So, this is – I feel like we both agree on it. We just think the 49ers, as bad as they've been, I still trust them more right now than this Green Bay team. There's just something off with this Green Bay team. And at the end of the day, it's like we were going to bet Green Bay just because there's going to be no Purdy. Now that we know he'll be back, it's like, okay, this is a good matchup for a really desperate team from the 49ers. And on the flip side – everything just feels a little off with this Green Bay team this season, right? Even their defense, they've been heavy reliant on turnovers. Without turnovers, they're just not that good of a defense. We've kind of seen it play out this season. So Shanahan, Evan had a great stat about him after losses in these kind of spots. He tends to bounce back. This is really about the number as well. Like you just said, you're still able to get 2. Maybe if we're lucky in our contest, we can get 2.5. That's such a great number in this matchup that just feels like it's going to be really close, down to the wire type of game. So the public, they're coming in heavy on this 49ers team, which is not shocking. I think most people are thinking the same way as me. So, we got away with it last week betting a public dog. Maybe we'll get away with it this week.
Yeah, look, we have had a hard time finding significant edges in this game because both teams have sort of not been able to be consistent and finish in the way we think they should finish, right? Obviously, we think the Niners should have blown out the Seahawks last week. They should have blown the doors off the place in Tampa. And in both games, they've really struggled. They've had a hard time all season long. They've had weird quirkiness. Losing their kicker, I think it was against the Cardinals, that kept them from kicking field goals, and that led to a fumble that lost them that game. It's just a lot of injury, bad luck. This is the biggest luck rankings game of the week.
Is it really?
No bigger difference between luck factors than the Niners, who are basically at the bottom of the rankings, and the Packers, who are at the top. Nice. So when I saw that come out yesterday from Dr. Nick, I felt a lot more comfortable about taking the Niners. So that sort of put it over the edge for me.
Yeah, and it's a rare opportunity. This is the first game, I think, in Purdy's regular season career I can remember him being an underdog. I know when he played the Eagles, he was underdog in the playoffs when he got hurt. But Purdy, the books have respected him his whole career. I mean, I'll never forget when he first came in, me and Chad, I had to beg Chad to take him against Arizona. I think he was a -4.5 favorite. And we were just like, I get where Chad's coming from. He's like, I'm unsure about it. It's like, no, we just play this spot. I think they rolled him in that first game, and then it's just been on the roll since then. So big deal, the fact that the books have made this dog. Chad knows I viewed that this was going to flip just because of that. Like, I thought the public would come in, the books would respect it, and they would move it to him being a favorite by Sunday. Still could happen. So it's another thing where it's like, I want to play this number because I could still see this flipping once we know all the guys are healthy for this 49ers team. So, Chad, I'm right there with you. If you can grab the 2 right now, I'd grab it.
This is a little bit of foreshadowing. I just wonder if it's worth playing the money line. Like, if it's already down to, if it, by the time we get off the show, which is live, and these numbers move fast when we're talking, like if it's at 1.5 or 1, I might just play the Niners on the money line.
It's fair.
Arizona at Seattle. This game has gone crazy, like a kid at a bouncy house. Cards +1, cards -1, cards +1. Now it's -1 again. You mentioned it in sharp calls. This was a Sunday play for us. We bet the Cardinals a +1.5. You said you saw it at 2 some places. This was my exec decision. I believe you like it too. Do we like it enough to make it one of our final 5?
Yeah.
Doesn't sound
Honestly,
convincing, Simon.
I thought I would break on this one, Chad. I really did. I thought I would make it so we wouldn't take this one. Evan had something amazing in his article. I know you had to have seen it. So Geno Smith, we talked about his struggles this year, especially at home in his career. So since the beginning of last season, Geno Smith is 310 ATS at home, the worst mark of any quarterback in football. Did you see who his 3 covers were against? It was against Skylar Thompson, Josh Dobbs, and Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
What are we doing here? Can we not overthink this one for once in our lives?
No, I'm there.
I know. We're going to have to live with the consequences. It sucks because we both have a little weird feeling about this Arizona one. It feels too easy, a little trappish. But once
like
I saw that, it's just
week,
like
when we were betting Cleveland as a dog, they end up as the favorite, and we still take them because we feel like we're getting a good number at +0.5 point. That's honestly what's in the back of my head right now. And they were coming off a bye. Are you kidding me?
I know. So it really is to me about this Arizona team's been ascending. They've been playing so well. It would burn us, right, if they had a letdown game here. But I think Geno is going to make it so we're not going to have a letdown game. He's just been horrible at home. He just does not live up to the moments at home. And that's reflective of this season. They're 1-5 against the spread at home this season. Like, that's not the Seahawks we're used to. I mean, the last 20 years, you could always count on them. As bad as they would go through their ups and downs, you could always count on them at home. Those days are long gone. So, yeah, Chad, maybe we're walking into it. Maybe there's other games you like more, and this won't be one of our 5. But as we sit here right now, it's like, if we have to force one in, I'm okay with us putting Arizona. Even though it is a little fishy here, it's just like, man, you can't deny that this guy has struggled against good quarterbacks. And as much as people want to deny it, Kyler Murray is playing like a top 5, top 6 quarterback right now. Like, he has been balling out. So, it just feels like a nice number in a nice spot.
Well, look, we have 5 games on the list right now. And I know we don't want to put the Titans on there, but we like the Panthers, Titans, Colts, San Francisco, Arizona. The last game, we have 2 more games to discuss. And the Philadelphia at the Rams are 3-point dogs. This has been bouncing around. I love the Eagles here, and you love the Rams. And this was your Simon Says, and I just don't get it. Like, this Eagles defense is legit. They've gone from 27th in the league in EPA allowed to number 1 since week 5. Like, they have a really good defensive secondary. The Rams have been entirely inconsistent. We have been on the Rams the past 3 weeks. I feel like we've gotten away with it last week. We got burned the week before. They make too many mistakes. Something is inconsistent about the way they're playing this offense. I don't think they'll be able to run the ball as effectively as they have been able to do. That opens up their passing game. I just don't get it. I don't get why the Eagles aren't at the play here. I'm surprised that you're not with me on this.
Been around the block, Chad. Been around a long time to know better than to step into this trap. This is a fishy game with a fishy line. I just think people are undervaluing this Rams team while they're overvaluing this Eagles team. Now, Chad says that this team's turned it around. Okay, let's start from the top. They lost 16-33 to Tampa, this Eagles team. Then they went on a bye week, and we all agree, whatever happened with Fangs and that defense, all these young guys, they've been better since that bye week. They came out, they beat Cleveland 20-16. They didn't cover. That was a game they easily could have lost. The next week, they blow out the Giants. Okay, earn that win. Next week, they dominate that Cincinnati team. That's another game we respect. They deserve that win. Then they had that weird game with the Jaguars, which they almost lost once again. Okay, that's what I'm trying to make a point here of, like, they're up and down. They're inconsistent, this team this season. And then Dallas, once again, they blew them out. And then Washington, that was kind of felt like a lucky game to them, right? Jaden Daniels, he just was not himself in that game, was not hitting throws that guys were open. Like he had guys open. He just was not making the throws against that Eagles team. So as good as this Eagles team has been, I don't think they're not the Lions. Like this is not some juggernaut team that doesn't have some major issues. Like this to me is a team that has been fortunate, a little bit of lucky, and just overrated right now. Like this should be a pick. This is the numbers just moved too much to me. That's why I don't like it. Where Sunday night I was blind to it because I kind of had the same thought of you of like this Eagles team is way better. Like they're better than this Rams team. They are consistent offensively. They actually have guys that can get stops defensively. But then when you really look at it, it's like, you know what? This Rams team is not that bad. Like they're just like in my mind, they're just like this Eagles team. I mean, you could say, well, they don't have the big names on defense. They've drafted really well. Like these last couple of drafts have been great for this Rams team.
Oh yeah.
Like that D line is actually pretty good. And this matchup to me is going to come down to the quarterbacks. And I don't trust Hurts right now, Chad. I'll be honest. There's just something a little off about him right now. So with me, this Rams team in this moment, I looked at Evans' trends didn't make me too confident. Like I've seen Stafford has actually struggled as an underdog, especially since he's been in LA. But I don't know if you saw how bad Hurts has been in night games on the road. He has not been good in his career on the road in these night games. So this is really about me trusting the numbers, trusting the sports book, and this is why there are all these tall buildings built in Las Vegas, Chad. Like this is the definition of a trap game on Sunday night.
That's the
brother.
worst fucking cliche. That's like what they say. That's what old people like me say. That's not a banging phrase.
I've heard that phrase 30 times this week about this game. And it's the truth.
That's not one
it's
that
like,
gives me confidence.
Everyone's going to be coming in with their grandma trying to get fat and rich off this Eagles team on Sunday night, and they're going to lose. This is such a bad chase spot for the general public.
All right, look, I owe you one because we put Cleveland in last week, and you wanted to put the Chargers, and that was the difference between 3-2 and 4-1 for us. So if you're going to feel strongly about it, I have already bet the Eagles aggressively here. And so if I'm going to have to eat one and you feel a lot better about the Rams than any other games, then we're probably gonna have to put it in because that might be the last option. Because the only other one on the list that, is playable is Tennessee of the games that like
No, they're not. You love Tennessee. I'm not.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm not on board with Tennessee.
Dude, I was just gonna say the only other game that like
I know you keep saying their name though. Stop saying Tennessee.
What is it like? Not Marvin Harris, like that we quasi agree on that like if there were no other options, you would be comfortable going with is Tennessee, which means you like the Rams, which means our five are going to end up being the Panthers, the Colts, the Niners, the Cardinals, and the Rams. And I'm going to have to bet against myself because I've already aggressively bet with real dollars on the Eagles, which is fine.
I'm sorry. But
I'm willing to eat it. I'm going to eat it. It's fine. Do we want to say anything about the Chargers and the Ravens? I feel like I could go either way on this. I kind of like the Chargers. I want it to be at 3.5, but I don't know that I like the Chargers better than Panthers, Colts, Niners, or Cardinals. And I definitely don't think you like the Chargers better than you like the Rams.
No, it sucks. I wanted to be on the Chargers as well, but at 2.5, it's like I feel like that's where the value is on the Ravens with the general public. But yeah, this feels like a game that maybe there's something I'm missing here because it's also like I don't really understand the movement here. I don't know why this number's come down so much. I get why the professionals are on the Chargers at +3. I just don't know why the books have moved off the +3. It's just been all Ravens money. So maybe I'll just stay away from it, or maybe I'll end up betting the Chargers once it comes Monday night at the +3. But yeah, I don't know. This is just a weird week where like I love all the primetime dogs, and that's rarely works out for me. So this is either going to be a really, really bad week for the general public, or I'm going to get absolutely slaughtered.
No, it's not. You know why? Because the first thing you said on Sunday, again, I remember everything you ever say. You said this upcoming week is going to be a bad week for the public. You said you love the lines.
It feels that way.
You loved the games. I was having a hard time. You gave me some confidence. By the time I got to Wednesday afternoon, again, like 2 or 3 in the afternoon, I'm like, you know what? Some ugly numbers here, but that's an opportunity for us. we are sussing out the opportunity.
Now we need a favor, Chad. What's going on with the Broncos? How do you feel about the Broncos 5.5?
That feels trappy to me. Like I know you're saying wise guys like it, but a division game, the Raiders keep finding ways to stick around and then blow it. But what if there's a week where they don't blow it, right? And
That's a
so,
big what if.
yeah, I just,
But you love dogs. Like you're also scared of Tommy DeVito. Something's wrong in your brain where you're like, I think Tommy DeVito might be better for the Giants. In what fucking world is Tommy DeVito better for the
I am.
Giants?
I want to hammer the Giants at plus
You're
six
sick.
so badly. I just do. Um, I mean, we have a favorite. We have the Cardinals.
Depends where you're shopping, but that is true because there's still a bunch of plus ones out there.
All right, you know what I'm going to do? Let's put the Broncos on there. And like you and I will have to sort of narrow it down. And it might end up being on Sunday we want to move things around. I don't think the Broncos are in our final five right now. I think the final five is probably Panthers, Colts, Niners, Cards, and Rams.
What a five. What a
Seriously.
five.
Unbelievable. Our big balls is the Colts. Our foxhole is the Panthers. Our boosted money line underdog parlay. Each week we give out a two-team money line dog parlay. Bet365 is going to boost those odds and highlights it on their site all weekend under both game pages. Remember, both games are eligible for Bet365's early payout promo, where your money line pick gets marked as a win if either team takes a 17-point lead, even if they lose. If you want to bet this, bet it at Bet365. The boosted parlay, 49ers and Rams. I feel like I'm getting bullied. 49ers and Rams. Find the boost under either the 49ers or Rams game pages on Bet365. A reminder, quick programming note. Next week is Thanksgiving. We do not do a Thursday episode on Thanksgiving. Obviously, I won't be around because I'll be packing up my mother-in-law's house in Staten Island. We will not have our normal Thursday episode. As is tradition, Simon and I will pack everything, all of our picks, all of our segments, to one mega spectacular episode on Tuesday at our normal time. Simon, what is our money line underdog round robin? Here were my suggestions. Are you ready?
Yeah.
San Francisco,
Love it.
the Colts,
Love it.
Chicago,
Eh. What else you got?
Rams,
Love it.
New England.
Love it.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, why not? I love when there are big numbers like that.
All right, well, I just gave you four, so give me one more.
Plus
Since you don't let
310 paired with the Colts plus 320.
Yeah,
If those hit, that's a great
that's a
payday.
that's a Thanksgiving miracle right there. So
Um,
give me one then. I got
damn,
New
Cardinals
England.
are minus 108, so I guess we can't do
Yeah,
Cardinals.
New England, Rams, San Francisco, Indy. So far,
And I mean, unfortunately, I guess we can't do Browns because it's too not enough listeners will hear it.
yeah.
Because that would definitely be a nice. Like I'm gonna personally throw that one in. I mean, why don't we do? I mean, the only other one I can think of for us is the Chargers. They're plus 115. I guess
Okay.
we kind of have to. It's a tough week right now for the Dogs. So, yeah, I'll take that number.
How about your biggest bets?
Early here, definitely Rams plus 3, Chargers plus 3. For these big dogs, getting pretty heavy at this point on this Colts team and this Panthers team. So I would say as we sit here right now, my biggest bet is definitely that Rams and the 49ers, where if you can get to 2, to me, that's a big deal with this 49ers team. I've been hitting this number just because I do think it's going to flip. That's my biggest view of that 49ers one. So yeah, the Colts one comes Sunday. That or the Rams might be my biggest bet.
Simon, guess who won Scooch Roulette last week?
Did you?
Banging.
Who'd you take?
He's got 2 thumbs and he says banging. I took Detroit. You took Kansas City.
Damn it.
I'm going with the Indianapolis Colts and Scooch Roulette.
I'll go with the Rams just because Chad likes the Eagles so much.
I was going to take the Eagles, and I just couldn't do it to myself to have them in the contest and have to root for them for Scooch Roulette and have bet on them. All right, before we get out of here, let's bring in our director of research, Evan Abrams, the man we reference So we should start setting a line on how often we reference Evan Abrams in our show. Maybe Matt Mitchell can set that. Take it away, Evan.
Yeah, that was a really good segue to this. So let's head into this. Things can only go so right for so long. Teams to score 24 plus points in 5 straight games and are listed as a favorite are just 45% against the spread since 2003. When they've also won all 5 of those games, it's down to 42%. Yes, that includes Detroit, who is 41-15 against the spread over the last 3 years. And yes, that also includes Philadelphia, who is 7-0 straight up with AJ Brown this year, scoring 30 points per game. You could say Detroit and Philly are pretty much banging right now. Going into the next one here, Carolina. And I know you guys are all over this, so I had to kind of split this up and give you a different angle on it. So Patrick Mahomes has started 44 games as a road favorite in his career. When the home team scores less than 20, he's 11-0-2 against the spread as a road favorite. When they score 20 or more, he is just 9-22 against the spread. This bet is just about how many points can Bryce Young get on the board, depending on the entire game. If he scores, 1 touchdown, 2 touchdown, Mahomes going to cover the game. So you might want to look into the team total on Carolina. That's another angle to kind of play there. And Chad, you had mentioned the Caleb Williams sack stats. Well, I found a little bit more of a simpler one. It kind of says the same story. So at this point, a bet on Chicago is a bet on their offensive line. It's just as simple as that. When Caleb gets sacked 4+ times, they are 0-4 straight up, scoring 41 points in 4 total games. 3 or less sacks, they're 4-2 straight up. More importantly, they're averaging 26.2 points per game and scoring 20 plus in 5 of those 6 games. Eberflus has faced a Flores defense twice. Chicago has scored 25 total points in those games, 8 combined sacks. So it just depends on how Caleb can do in this one, but it's all about the sacks.
That is a great stat. Maybe we should be betting a sacks prop in that game and avoiding the number altogether. Thank you, Evan Abrams. I think you're spot on when you reference the Detroit trends. I think you're pretty off when you reference them in context of Philadelphia. As a reminder, the Favorites podcast is presented by Bet365. And now, new Bet365 customers get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Sign up using promo code Favorites, deposit $10, place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets. Those bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and present in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, or 18 and older in Kentucky. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. Terms, conditions, restrictions apply. Don't forget, RSVP, 2-hour free drinks, watch party, Q&A with me and Simon, December 12th, Wicked Wolf in Philly. Come join us, sweat the Thursday night football game. RSVP is in the episode description for the podcast and on the YouTube page. Simon and I will return with our next episode of The Favorites on the Action Network YouTube page, Sunday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, to recap Week 12. Download us from Spotify, Apple Pods, wherever you get your pods. Rate, review, subscribe, leave us 5 stars, say whatever you want. Feedback is a gift. Until next time, love you.